What's happening, MJ traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today is Thursday, March 30th. Hope you're doing awesome. In today's video, going to be discussing regulatory changes that are needed. We're going to be discussing some changes that could be forthcoming with regards to New Jersey and the US, and some changes in Canada as well. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Still getting over a pretty nasty cold. I've been under the weather for the last few days. Starting to feel better, but hopefully be back to my regular self here in a couple of days. But like I said, we need change, and we're going to be discussing the 280E tax code today in the US and also the MJ Act here in Canada. I got some pretty exciting changes that I want to share with you guys. It's not brand new information. It just took me a little while to get this video out, but I want to go over some of my thoughts and just stress that, you know, the reason why MJ stocks are down right now. There's a reason why most MJ stocks, it doesn't matter if they're US producers, you know, Canadian producers, if they're retailers, if they're ETFs, everything is down about 80 to 90% plus from February 2021 highs. And the reason for that is, it doesn't matter if they're profitable companies, doesn't matter if they're American, Canadian, doesn't matter if they're unprofitable. The problem is the US government and the Canadian government for the most part, because they're just not caught up with the MJ industry. We know that the industry is still in the first inning. There's still so much to see from a regulatory standpoint. It's not even funny. And case in point, you can see here Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, said that it's time for the government to catch up and support the MJ industry. Well, it's now been over 4 years, and we're finally starting to get some reform and some communication and some movement on this. But we've already been fully legal here in terms of recreational for 4 years, and we've still yet to see the government really catch up. So it just goes to show you how slow moving they are. And I don't have to say anything about the US. We all know that we've got false promises. But we do have Biden supporting signed the medical bill, the research bill. We'll just bring that up here real quick here. Signs bill clearing the way for medical MJ research. And then, did some pardoning and things like that. But we know that HHS is looking into it, and then the DOJ as well. But I do think that medical has the best chance of getting legalized first. But we'll just go through this here a little bit quickly. I just want to go over some of these articles. But we know that taxation is a big issue right now, and that is something that's really hindering the industry. And I think that it's probably a little bit by design. But as we know, until regulatory changes happen, both in Canada and the US, there's still so many things from a packaging, a licensing, from marketing, taxation, all those points of views. There's so many changes that we need in order for Canada, for MJ stocks, try not to say that word, to bottom out, right? We know that we're not going to find a bottom until the whole sector finds a bottom, right? And that is why most companies, doesn't matter if they're profitable, unprofitable, or down 80 to 90%, is because the whole sector moves together, and we need a catalyst. We need something like the legalization of medical in the US, or Germany coming online, which could happen from a recreational standpoint here over the next 3 to 6 months or so, maybe even the beginning part of 2024. But we should see some movement on that. We know that the EU has provided positive feedback for Germany rollout. So it's just a matter of time before the rest of the dominoes fall. But we'll go through this article here. So Prime Minister Justin Trudeau acknowledged the need for government to catch up with the MJ industry's concerns around issues like high taxation in the recent public event. But essentially, I'm not going to go through this in an effort of time because there is a lot to go over. And maybe I'll drop the links in the description, so if you want to go over this in its entirety afterwards, you can do so. But in effort of time, we'll go on. But essentially, they go on to talk about how some companies are paying upwards of 30% in tax from their revenue, right? So that's 30% that's going to the government, sometimes in some cases more, that's not hitting the bottom line. So I did a video here with an interview with Hexacorp's Charlie Bowman, President and CEO of Hexo, and Julius Ivanitz, the CFO. And basically they said, yeah, it's actually in a lot of cases over 30% that are going from taxation that are going to the government, right? And as we know, the government's always going to get paid first, right? And then another article here from MJ Biz Daily, Canada consulting on possible amendments to MJ regulations. So go through this real quickly here. They're launching consultation that could lead to amendments to the country's regulations for MJ, which govern the production of legal MJ. The notice of intent for the consultation was included in the March 25th edition of the official Canada Gazette publication, and the consultation opens the door to possible MJ regulatory reforms in several areas, including licensing rules, security requirements, production requirements, and packaging and labeling regulations. So like I said, a lot of issues, and obviously taxation going to be a big one as well. But according to the notice, Canada's legal MJ industry has matured, the marketplace has evolved, and there is increased knowledge and data on the public health and public safety risks associated with certain activities. So I encourage you to reach out to your local officials and just show your support for the industry. We all need to work together. Reach out. If you're in the U.S., reach out to your local officials there in the area as well, and your representatives, and just let our voices be heard. That, I know probably 70%, if not more, of the citizens and people in the U.S. want it legalized, but it's just a matter of time before the U.S. catches up. As we know, the U.S. is never first, but they're never last. And once they get into the space, they'll leapfrog a lot of people because they just have the GDP, they have the economy, and they have the people for it, right? But Germany's going to be huge as well. That's going to be over double the population of Canada. I think that's going to be massive. Companies like Tilray and Hexo and Aurora, even Curaleaf, I believe, will have a presence there. But specifically Tilray, Hexo, and Aurora, but Tilray and Hexo are going to be working together. And then Aurora is going to have a big one there as well. Big presence there as well. But essentially, they just go on to talk about the different talking points there. So, licensing, personnel and physical security measures, production requirements, packaging. Again, I'll put the links in the description so you can go over this in its entirety if you so choose. But another major movement here towards progress into this area is New Jersey. They are moving to remove the state's 280E tax code. And this is huge. This is absolutely massive. And companies like Curaleaf, I did a video on this about 3 months ago. The Curaleaf executive chairman, Boris Jordan, actually said that the company would already be paying dividends if Curaleaf would already be paying dividends if it weren't for 280E. And they said they've paid already about $330 billion, billion with a B, to the government for 280E tax code. So that's $330 billion that they would have been able to retain. And they said they'd already be paying a dividend, and that he believes that MJ companies are going to be extremely high paying dividend companies in the future, but not until 280E goes, right? So 280E must go. You can check out that video if you want to learn more on that. And something I wanted to highlight as well is that Curaleaf has a big presence in New Jersey. And as we know, they would have had a massive revenue added if it wasn't for that money going to tax, right? So this is a name that I'm really focusing on right now. I've already got a position in Curaleaf, but this is going to be a company that I'm going to be looking to add a lot more over the near term. And like I said, they're going to have a big presence in Germany as well. But I just want to go over the importance of this. So New Jersey moves to remove the state's 280E tax code. The New Jersey legislature recently approved legislation that would allow licensed MJ businesses to deduct ordinary business expenses on their state tax return that they are prohibited from deducting on their federal tax return, and such legislation has been sent to the Governor Phil Murphy to potentially sign into law. This relates to the universally dreaded, among those in the MJ industry at least, Section 280E prohibition. This legislation is important because it would change current law to allow legal MJ businesses in New Jersey to operate on a more level playing field with other businesses in the state. So again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but it is really good if you want to get some background and just get some information with regards to 280E and how that hinders companies in the U.S., especially in MJ. I would encourage you to check that out. But something I want to just reiterate is that President Biden has signed a bill clearing the way for medical MJ research, and we know that he's done pardons and whatnot, and now we need to see what HHS comes back with. They're going to determine whether or not MJ needs to be rescheduled, descheduled. We'll see what happens there, and then obviously the DOJ is going to step in at that point, make a decision. I do think that the most likely scenario is that we see legalization of medical in the U.S. first, and then we get full-blown federal legalization, whether it be in a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, who knows. But I do think that medical is going to come first. But maybe it might not even happen at all at the federal level. Maybe they'll just legalize medical, and then they'll leave it to each state to determine whether or not they want to participate in recreational legalization, right? So a lot remains to be seen, but one thing is for sure that we need change, right? We need to reach out to our local officials. We need to do everything that we can to make our voices heard. I know the people have been trying to be, as loud as they can, and we know that a lot of surveys and polls and things like that say that about 70%, if not more, of Americans want MJ to be legalized at the recreational level, and it's just a matter of time. In my opinion, it's not a matter of if, it's but when. And like I said, we need change, and we need to do everything. We all need to unite. We all need to drop the tribalism, right? It's not about U.S. companies, Canadian companies. I'm from Canada, but I hold U.S. companies, right? I've got a mix of about 15 different MJ stocks in my portfolio, all from picks and shovels, right? We got American producers, Canadian producers, right? So LPs and MSOs. I've got retailers in the US, retailers in Canada. I've got ETFs, things like that, right? So again, I want all MJ to do well. There's enough market share out there. There's enough growth in this industry to be had that tons of people can do well, tons of companies can succeed, and I want all boats to rise together. But going to end it there, thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Power Group. If you could smash the like on your way out, I would appreciate it. Share the video with anybody that might find value, and refer to the links in the description if you'd like to learn more. Going to end it there though, have a great night. We'll see you on the next video.